Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to get right into the stock market technical analysis. I just wanted to get out an early morning video, give you guys an idea of what I'm kind of seeing. Certain things, a couple of stocks are breaking out, so I want to point those out, and then we'll wrap up. So, guys, if you find value, drop me a thumbs up. If you're interested in learning this as a skill set, not just watching YouTube videos, take my stock market technical analysis course. I put that together about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Link in the description below. Okay, check it out. I think there's a lot of value there for you. And then I'll probably put out an end of the day video. I had a couple subscribers ask me to put out end of the day videos. I'm not going to do 2 videos a day, but we're just going to try to test out the format, because I know that some people want me to put out an end of the day recap. Some people want me to put out an early morning video. I try to get videos out when trades are actionable. So sometimes when you see the video in the morning, I'm really trying to point out, anything that's changed at least at that moment, and give you an idea of what I think will continue. And then if it doesn't continue, then you can kind of measure that. But again, that's where the skill set part comes in, knowing what to do when you see something take place. All right, so gold. I want to start out with gold today. Nothing huge in the price of gold bullion. We're still continuing to kind of move higher. But the point being, we're still holding this support, all right? We still are in this area of support right here. This is your big bull market that started back in 2018, and this is gold bullion. You can see we have not really broke that support. I mean, it broke briefly, but very impulsive. It wasn't very impulsive, and it really looked like a kind of a stop clearing move, and we're back above support today. So nothing's technically wrong with gold. It still looks good. And then if you look at GLD, and I go to the weekly, or sorry, the daily, this is going back to 2018. Here's your bull market in GLD, and you can see well above support, above the 200-day moving average. It just looks bullish. Everything looks bullish in gold. We're holding support. We're not really, we kind of consolidated for a little while, but it still looks bullish. And I want to point out Barrick Gold here. You can see here, okay, so this is the daily, but it really shows pretty cleanly on the hourly chart. So on Barrick, we've been in this downward channel recently on the hourly, and you can see the top resistance part of the channels here. We got resistance there. They slipped in early and sold it there, but there's another one. There's another tag. Okay, so 4 tags. You need at least 3 to make a trend line. The more, the better. So we got 4, and then here's the bottom part. But we have bullish divergence that was building for a while. See it right here on the hourly. So there's your bullish divergence. That was telling you, and it's there on the PPO as well. That was telling you that, okay, these moves down were likely going to reverse trend soon. But again, we have this downward price channel, so you need to wait for a buy signal or a breakout. 2 ways to treat this when you have like a downward price channel and you have bullish divergence. One, you can buy at support like this, but you don't know how far that's going to go. So, you can kind of build a small, kind of incrementally build a position at support. That's one way to do it. Or wait for a breakout, and there it is right there. So far that we have a breakout, it came in the form of a pretty big gap up. So we were down here the night before and then gapped up, and we're holding up there. So as long as that can hold up in that area, we'll consider that a buy signal on Barrick Gold. And this is one of the largest gold miners. So if we start getting buy signals on the big boys in the mining sector, the little guys should follow. I'm seeing, there's huge moves today in some of these miners. Here's AG. You can see, boom, big breakout candle. And this is an hourly chart, but we had this big kind of sideways consolidation for, it was about 2 weeks, really. 3 weeks of sideways consolidation, then boom, breakout. All right, so just looks very bullish price action. MTA, this is the one I've talked about. We've been kind of consolidating in this bullish falling wedge pattern. So right there, big on the daily chart, big bullish falling wedge pattern. And put in bullish divergence. We've got that kind of going on right here. And then basically the thing I really liked about this one was the fact that we broke down below this support line and then snapped right back and recovered it. And then when we recovered it, we just consolidated for a couple weeks and boom, up today's almost 7%. Hasn't quite cleared out this range yet, so we want to see higher prices, but I think we're going to get them. Just a quick glance at the sectors. The really main thing I want to point out is I'm noticing the XLV down almost 1% today, and XLU. So XLV is healthcare. That's a defensive sector. And XLU is your utilities, which is also a defensive sector. That's down today. And then you'll notice SOXX, semiconductors up about 1.5%. IWM, small caps up 1%. So there's this clear rotation right now, at least this morning, out of defensive and into growth or risk, kind of risk on going on. So doesn't mean that's going to continue, but I just kind of want to point that out. So then we look at some of our risk assets. Netflix. All right, so this one's been really sold out hard. So I like it to the long side. Obviously, I've been talking about this as a long trade for a couple weeks now. But on the daily chart, you can see just continuing to walk up this trend line. Let's look at the hourly. So we've got this upward trend line to watch. Any tags of support of this trend line right here should be a buying opportunity unless we start getting signs of negative divergence and it's going to break. I'd look to buy the dip on this. We have resistance right up here about 204.20. We need to break that. You take that out, you should pretty much rocket right up to this 246.20 area. That's the big gap. There's a huge gap from back when Netflix had some bad earnings report and they gapped down huge. So we should rocket right up to that gap entry, which is right there. And then if you enter the gap, it's likely you're at least going to make an attempt to fill the gap. I don't know if it'll actually fill. I wouldn't hold out for it, to be honest. But if you start to move into the gap like that, I'd just look to start taking profit as you approach that gap if you're long. Because again, we're trading any kind of rally that we're getting right now over the next couple weeks, to maybe over the summer. We're treating that as a bear market rally. So I think we can continue to rally, but to me, I think it's an opportunity to reshort the markets at higher prices. So we're going to look to, we're long right now in a lot of stocks. I'm looking to stay long into this rally, and then we'll reshort it when we get the signs. So looking at triple Qs here, tech sector, again, we hit a little bit of resistance right here at 310, so we have that marked out. You can see the cluster right there. And that was former support back here in May. All right, so support, once it's support and once it's broken, it becomes resistance. So there it is, resistance right there. We make a second attempt at it. I think we'll probably break it and run up and hit this next target, 318, 317.75, somewhere right in there. So that's where I think we're heading in the short term. And then we'll probably get a pullback or a reaction there. Potentially, there's a lot of potential for a lot higher prices, but 318 is good resistance. So as we approach that, if we're going to get in that area, I'll probably look to cover or close out my long position and see what we get for a reaction, maybe even flip short. Here's a risk on Zillow Group, ZG. So again, looking at the daily chart, we've got this downtrend line that's marked out right there. And then as I zoom in on the hourly, you can see it's decently defined. You can see all the tags of resistance on this trend line starting to break it. You can see the first hour of today, they were above it, but they faded it back down. So you didn't have a buy signal there, but this next hour, they're making another attempt at it right here. Decently impulsive. This thing's been sold off quite a bit, so you'd want to see this continue to get bid. But they are above it as of right now, so keep an eye on that one. If this can hold and kind of build momentum, you should have a pretty good move on this one. Looking at the daily chart, back at the daily, we have the conditions are there for this breakout to stick. Bullish divergence here on the RSI and the PPO. All right, so we'd want to look for a move. I got this red line drawn here. We're probably, maybe you get a reaction on this one, but I really like it up here at the 265-ish, somewhere, whichever one comes in first, right in there for a potential bounce trade. Yeah, there's slight resistance right there, about 54.50. So we can kind of just mark that out a little bit, but somewhere right in there is probably some resistance. But I still like a move up to probably check that 200-day. It hasn't checked the 200-day since back in June, June 29th of 2021. So almost a year it hasn't checked the 200. So it would make sense if you're going to get a bear market rally, to run up and check that. For me, it's just not quite good enough of a breakout. I need to see just a little bit more. And as time ticks on today, if we can look like we're going to close the day with this breakout, then that all should be good enough. But just looking for a little bit more to kind of help confirm that, because they could sell this down and whip it. It could just be a little whipsaw where it kind of whips up and then closes back below. And so we want to make sure. Okay, Zen. Talked about this as a short trade, but again, we have this support zone at 90.86. You can see that basically and we've got resistance on this trend line right here. So this is your daily trend line coming off the February 2016. I've got that kind of marked out here. We have negative divergence. We broke trends. So we have a sell signal right there. But again, they hit the first level of support, kind of undercut it and recovered it right into resistance. So that's the objective area to short at, right up in there on this trend line. But you don't want to short at this support line. So this is the first area of support, 90.86. That has to go for the next objective area. Two ways to short. You can either short at resistance or short on a break of support. A nice quality break. You need to see a nice impulsive breakdown. All right. So if you break that, then that's your next objective area to short. And you should trade down to 73 level, or somewhere right in there. Otherwise, you could short at a test of resistance right up there at around 98.24. So, yeah, that's all I got on that one. And just looking at like some of these silver miners, I just can't reiterate how bullish these things look, at least today. They really are showing themselves today. And it's playing out exactly like I was expecting, but, a little bit of a fake out move. But here on this pattern, this is PAAS. I know my chart's really messy, but the chart pattern I really want you to focus on is this big wedge right here. This is a bullish falling wedge, big old bullish falling wedge pattern. And basically what we have since August of 2020 is a big correction in an ongoing bull market. Okay, so this bull market started back in 2016. You can see we're making higher highs and higher lows, just continuing to trend up. And yet we had a big correction over a year and a half or so. And that makes sense. That washes out a lot of the hot money and basically allows, the smart money to kind of reload or add to positions. Now, the thing that I want you to focus on this bullish falling wedge is we had a breakout. This is a big confirmed breakout, but they came back in for a back test. They back tested it right here. That looked like an objective area to buy. And in fact, it was, at least on the first tag of that trend line, because off of that tag, you got you rallied 10%. But then they sold it really hard as the market kind of crashed. They sold it really hard down. But this, to me, as of today, is a bear trap. All right, we broke all the way back down into this wedge, came back up, and boom, snapped above it. Because see that big impulsive break back above the wedge? This is telling you that this was a bear trap. All these shorts here are now covering, or they're starting to at least. And that is a break back above that support line. So to me, it looks like this should be off to the running for the next leg higher in the bull market. And that's really what I'm anticipating in a lot of these gold and silver miners is we had a big long correction for a year and a half. We had a confirmed breakout here, came back in for a back test, did a kind of a stop raid bear trap, and now we're breaking back above, and we should be off to the running for the next leg, not just a little minor leg, but a major leg higher. We should take out these all-time highs, or these highs right here in this stock at $40, and continue for kind of the next leg higher in the bull market. So whether that plays out or not, I don't know, but that's what it looks like to me as of right now. So I just want to really reiterate the fact of, I definitely like these, and I've been talking about these for weeks. My trade ideas, don't always work out the very same day or the next day. Sometimes it takes a couple days or weeks to really play out, but we look to position at key levels of support or to short at key levels of resistance. It's all about getting your, putting down your position where the risk reward ratio is really favorable. And that's what I see here. So All right, and just rolling back the cues, you can see we're rallying up to that 310 area. That's resistance, so we got to break above that in order to confirm a continuation move to 318. And so, yeah, that's what I'll be watching, is looking for a break above that key area of resistance, or a short-term area of resistance, for the next move higher. And then I'll wrap up with Roku. This is another long trade idea I've talked about. So we're kind of at resistance right now. We need to see just a little bit more, but I want to point out we could get it today, maybe even by the time this video gets out. You have a bullish falling wedge pattern on Roku right here, marked on the daily. You have bullish divergence on both momentum indicators. Okay, so everything looks good from that standpoint. Excuse me. So zooming in, we need to see a breakout. If I go to the hourly chart, I'll kind of play out what I thought we were going to do. We went long, or I went long on Roku down here at support. This is where it looked good. So I took it here. We rallied right up to resistance. I closed out my long trade. I did flip short, over the last couple of days, looking for a gap fill. Caught this move down here. We didn't fully gap fill. I read that as bullish, because if you get close to a gap and the buyers step in early, it just shows there's a lot of buyers there. So I was anticipating that we were going to next rally back up to the trend line, and we're going to break out. All right, this is what I've talked about in my videos over the last few days. So I'm looking for this to get pretty much breakout right here and now. So we'll watch that, and if we do get that breakout, then going back to the daily, that sets us up for a continued move up to about 138.84 as the level of resistance. Okay, so there it is right there, just starting to break out, this morning. So we'll see if they can hold that and continue. If it continues much higher from here, it should be a buy signal, at least from what I'm looking at. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get the video out. Drop me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you see anything interesting. Check out the course if you haven't done so. I think you'll find a lot of value. I have a lot of happy people who have taken that. Link in the description below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.